You're listening to Section D here on Monocle 24. Now, Hong Kong architect Andre Fu has made a rather tidy career in a very short space of time, outfitting some of the more beautiful hotels in the Far East. He was in London last week to survey the site of his latest commission in a rather special location. He's responsible for the pool and nightclub floor of the Shangri-La Hotel in London's Shard, which will open next year. He took me through his plans here in Studio One at Midori House.
There will be a hotel at the Shard, which will actually start on level 35, and it will go up to level 52. And I'm actually working on one single floor, and that will be level 52. So it's really the pinnacle of this whole establishment.
And the hotel, it's no great secret, is the Shangri-La.
Correct.
And level 52 is going to be a gym and a swimming pool and a bar.
Correct.
So that's probably just about the most fun floor of the whole building.
Yes, because it has kind of a dual purpose. So during the day, it's mainly for fitness purpose. So there is a full-scale swimming pool alongside a gymnasium. And at night, the pool will actually become part of the bar. So the entire floor will be animated in a very different type of dynamics. It will have a different degree of energy, let's call it. And because of the way that the architecture is structured, because we have quite a small floor plate to play around with, as you know, the building actually shrinks as you go up. And because the architecture is really faceted in different angles, we've designed something that is quite specific to each of the geometries. So despite the fact that the whole floor is quite holistic in terms of the design language, each part is quite unique.
So you have the swimming pool on one side, you have the bar on the other, and then
exactly,
a lot
and
of
then a
treadmills in
lounge.
between.
So the dynamics will kind of evolve as you move from one part to the other.
I mean, you have lived in London in the past.
Correct.
Did you grow up in London?
Well, I was born in Hong Kong, but I came to England when I was 14, and I left when I was 28. So I've been here quite a long time.
So it's fair to say you know the city quite well. But when you're standing on floor 52 of the Shard, do you get a different sense of the city when you're looking down on it?
To be honest, I would have thought that it would feel so remote from the city being so high up. But when I was physically there, I was actually really surprised. I mean, I was up there for the first time last year in about January. And actually, at the time, the curtain were not even up. I was actually kind of stranded, and I was just kind of standing there looking down.
You have that horrid urge to throw yourself off, which I always do.
Yeah,
on the top
but
of the building.
it's really exciting to see the city in that type of perspective, which is something that you don't really get previously. And because of its location right near London Bridge, and its proximity to the River Thames, and the way kind of tails off both on the eastern side of the city and the western side of the city. It's kind of really amazing.
Well, it's scheduled to open, the Shangri-La is scheduled to open sort of middle of next year.
Correct.
So we'll definitely go up there and revisit your design, hopefully with you when it's open. But, I mean, that's really just one of many projects that you're working on at the moment. You have done very well very quickly with your architecture and interior practice, specialising in the hospitality industry.
Correct.
How did you get into that?
It was really, it kind of really just happened. I guess I'm in the right place at the right time. I went back to Hong Kong in year 2003, and I believe it's really the time when the city is ready for a newer generation of designer. People with more of an international vision or a global vision. The design scene in Hong Kong, for example, despite the fact that it's been conceived to be very cosmopolitan, it's very forward in terms of kind of the design sense from the eastern part of the world, a lot of designers in Hong Kong, for example, they're still doing very well. They would have done very well in Hong Kong, and the only place that they would focus on is China. So Hong Kong is the benchmark, and then China is where you grow. I've taken on a slightly different perspective. I've done, I believe, reasonably well in Hong Kong, but I've used Asia as my bigger platform. So Singapore, Thailand, Hanoi, Vietnam, and obviously China, Shanghai, Beijing. So that's how I really see where my career is, fundamentally.
And obviously we don't like to reduce things to simple labels, but you have quite a sort of pan-Asian sensibility when it comes to designing these spaces, which particularly for people who are doing business and want to stay in hotels, might have to stay in a different hotel in a different country in Asia every night of the week.
Yes.
There's a sense of sort of familiarity in your designs. Do you think that's perhaps why you've been so successful?
I've talked a lot about the fact that I don't want to be conceived as someone who's style-driven. So every time if we approach a project, we follow a certain process with the client. And fundamentally, we're trying to find ways to infuse that local sensibility. And ultimately, when you're talking about hospitality design, it's the sense of comfort. And that comfort usually is, in my opinion, related to the balance in the geometry, that sense of visual balance.
We're talking balance of space as well
The balance
as material,
of
as well
exactly.
as...
I think it's everything in totality. And that degree of balance will ultimately give you that sense of calm or that sense of comfort. So it's not a stylistic thing. It's more something related to emotions.
and feelings.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think too many hotels get wrong. I'm not going to mention any names at all, but I wish that more people thought about the way that people responded to environments rather than about nice furniture.
Sure. It's not about imposing a lifestyle. I mean, lifestyle really comes from within. And that's fundamentally what hospitality should be, in my opinion.
That was Hong Kong architect Andre Fu there.